Sarah Swanson.
It's going to be white.
There you go.
It's light work, period.
Roll Tide and welcome to TideTV This Week. I'm Roger Hoover, joined by Kira Goldstein. What a week it was for the Crimson Tide. Women's basketball beat their in-state rival. Gymnastics had a top 10 win, and the Alabama men's basketball team picked up a victory at Coleman Coliseum.
Yeah, despite a 3-game losing streak, the Tide were able to pull off a big win on Wednesday over 13th-ranked LSU, and then Nate Oates' squad followed that up with another exciting home win over Missouri.
Let's take an all-access look at the Tide's 86-76 win over the Mizzou Tigers.
All right, we family, right? This should be the best time of your life right now. We all we got.
We welcome you inside the Coleman Coliseum, home of the defending SEC champion.
Three looks ahead to Bridge, lays it up and in for two. And he got fouled.
Been in control, and there's Ellis, another big play on the defensive end.
Lob passed early, caught it, laid it up and in. Catches three, bottom, and he is fouled.
To Davison, loads up a three, nothing but the net. Beautiful take by Quinnery. That's the third time now.
Has it, they take it away. JQ, one man to beat, lays it up. Let's start over. Tied at 73.
Follow Rojas, yes! Alabama to the big man, and there's Bediako. Missouri did a lot of things well tonight. A valiant effort by the Tigers, but Alabama terrific in the second half.
Despite trailing 40-36 at the half, the Crimson Tide outscored the Tigers 30-9 over the last 10-plus minutes of the game to secure the 10-point win, 86-76. Jaden Shackelford led Alabama with 21 points and 7 rebounds. Freshman J.D. Davison scored 17, shooting 3 of 4 from beyond the arc and adding 4 rebounds and 2 assists, while Javon Quinterly finished with 13 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds off the bench.
It was a well-needed win. Didn't play very well to start the game, but thought our guys showed some resilience, some fight. Figured out a way to fight back. You know, it seems Missouri has their best shooting games against us. Every time we play them this time, we at least kept competing, figured out a way to play hard, turn them over a little bit more. You know, they only had, I think, 5 turnovers late in the game, maybe the under 8 media timeout, if I remember. So I think we doubled their turnovers in the last 8 minutes of the game. You know, we needed to turn our pressure up, which we did. So I give our guys a ton of credit. I think we ended the game on a 30-9 run. Those guys that were in, you know, Quinterly really got up into them. Shaq, Keon Ellis, you know, those guys forced some turnovers, which kind of turned the game around. I thought Rojas played really well. Got 3 tip-ins, took the charge, just brought us some energy we needed. So we got to figure out a way to start games with better energy, no matter who the opponent is. We seem to have an issue playing to the level of our opponents, but I will give these guys, those guys that close that game, you know, those 3 guards, JD, Darius, Rojas, you know, a lot of credit on how they were able to close that game.
The win improved Alabama's record to 13-6 overall and 4-3 in SEC play, and the Tide look to make it 3 in a row as they traveled to Athens on Tuesday night to take on the Georgia Bulldogs.
Going into Tuesday night's matchup, Alabama had won 4 in a row against Georgia on the hardwood.
It was a back-and-forth contest early on, with Georgia using an 8-2 run to jump out to a 27-19 lead with 7:37 remaining in the first half. From there, Alabama used a 23-9 run to close out the first half, including 16 from Jaden Shackelford in the first 20 minutes of play. They took a 42-36 lead at the break.
Crimson Tide had their largest lead of the game at 45-36 early in the second half, but Georgia used a 12-3 run to tie the game at 48, with Alabama up 66-62. The Bulldogs hit 5 consecutive free throws for their first lead of the second half, 67-66. A 14-4 run by Georgia gave the Bulldogs a 76-70 lead with 1:23 to go. The Crimson Tide missed 12 of their final 16 shots to close out the game, as Georgia made 5 of 6 from the free throw line in the final minutes for the come-from-behind win, as the Bulldogs defeated the Crimson Tide 82-76.
Alabama out-rebounded Georgia 41-32, but the Tide shot just 26% from beyond the arc and 65% from the charity stripe. Alabama's 19 turnovers led to 23 points for Georgia.
Jaden Shackelford had a game-high 20 points. Shaq was 6 of 9 from three-point range. The rest of the team shot 3 of 25 from beyond the arc. Keon Ellis scored 15 to go along with 9 rebounds, while Noah Gurley chipped in 11 points and 6 boards.
Disappointing loss, obviously, with Georgia being winless in the SEC. We continue to have these issues with playing up and down the level of our competition. We had it today. I think we got outscored in the last 2 media segments by 10. I think it was 24-14. So last game we didn't have good starts. This game we didn't close well. Turnovers were a major problem. The biggest problem is just our energy, our effort. As a head coach, stuff comes back on me, and I got to figure out how to put the right guys on the floor that care about their teammates and going to play hard for them. And I've obviously not done a great job figuring out how to do that so far this year.
It's not the performance you want to see as Alabama welcomes number 4 Baylor to Coleman Coliseum on Saturday. But the Crimson Tide do have 4 top 15 wins under their belt this season already, including Gonzaga, the number 1 ranked team in the coaches poll.
Look, Alabama has a tough stretch over the next 3 games. They're taking on 3 of the top 12 teams in the country. But Roger, the Tide has shown that they can beat just about anybody. So I think this is a chance for them to get things going back in the right direction.
Certainly can be, and the future is looking pretty bright for Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide for next season. Alabama currently has the 2nd-ranked class in the nation, according to Rivals, and that class just had an exclamation point added to it. The McDonald's All-American class of 2022 was announced, and for the first time in program history, the Crimson Tide have 2.
Jaden Bradley, a point guard from IMG Academy in New York, and Brandon Miller, a forward from Antioch, Tennessee, were chosen to participate in this year's All-America game. Bradley and Miller are part of the Crimson Tide's 2022 signing class, and Bradley is ranked the number 1 point guard in the nation, 17th overall by 24/7 Sports. Before transferring to IMG Academy, Bradley was the 2020 North Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year.
Brandon Miller is the number 3 small forward and the 11th overall player by 24/7 Sports. Miller is the 2021 Tennessee Gatorade Player of the Year and the number 1 prospect in the state. Bradley and Miller become the 9th and 10th program signees to earn the honors as part of the top prep players in the nation, and the 4th and 5th in the last 6 years alone.
Yeah, the Tide have had a few as of recently. J.D. Davison earned the recognition in 2020, and before that it was Javon Quinterly in 2018 and Colin Sexton in 2017.
Congratulations to Jaden and Brandon on being named McDonald's All-Americans.
The McDonald's All-American game will take place in Chicago on Tuesday, March 29th.
The Alabama women's basketball team had already beaten Auburn once at home this season. Could the Crimson Tide make it a season sweep over the Tigers? We'll go all access with the Tide down on the plains coming up next.
TideTV This Week is presented by the University of Alabama, where legends are made. Ford, for great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
Come on now! Alabama raining down the threes. The buzzer sounds, and Bama hangs on. Oh, my goodness!
And the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Alabama is really playing with max effort.
I can't shoot no brick. 9:30 in the morning. Hustle like I ain't getting no portion. While you was dormant, let you sleep since that's so important. Practice my form, I done broke out of the no.
Hannah Barber.
To the bench.
Taylor shot no brick.
Welcome back to TideTV This Week. The Alabama women's basketball team took a short trip down to Auburn this past Sunday for a rematch with the Tigers.
Yeah, Alabama defeated Auburn 56-53 back on January 2nd inside Coleman Coliseum.
That win gave the Crimson Tide a 5-game win streak over the Tigers, and on Sunday, Christy Curry's squad made it 6 in a row. Alabama trailed by 5 at the half, but the Tide took control in the second half, outscoring the Tigers 44-32. With more than 20 of her friends and family in attendance, Brittany Davis led the Tide to victory. Davis had a game-high 24 points to go along with 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals.
Kyla Wade-Warren added 15 points, 4 rebounds, a steal, and a block, while Megan Abrams chipped in 10 points and 2 assists of her own.
The win improved the Crimson Tide's record to 11-8 and 2-6 in Southeastern Conference play.
Let's take a look at those Iron Bowl highlights as we go all access with the Crimson Tide for Bama's 6th consecutive win over the Auburn Tigers.
Today in women's basketball, the Alabama Crimson Tide hit the road to take on the Auburn Tigers. Sutton, free throw line jumper is good. Allery's down the left side lane, layup up, layup in. The inbounds pass tipped by Daniel, stolen by Daniel. Fast break, left side layup good. Davis drives, right side layup up and good. Beautiful movements by Alabama's Brittany Davis. Sutton, top of the key, left side three is good. Taylor Sutton, blocked Wade Warren through contact, puts it up, counted, she's fouled. Alabama's Kyla Wade Warren scores to the top of the key. Finds Wade Warren, right block, right side layup good. Dribbles inside the arc to the rim, throws it up. Rattles in for Alabama. She draws the foul, and Barber, right corner three. Switch. Barber, right corner, contested three is perfect. Hannah from Homewood knocks down another, and Davis loads up a three. Connects. Alabama ties the game thanks to Brittany Davis. Key to a wide open Davis, right wing, a three. Bottom. And Alabama once again a winner against Auburn. 6 straight victories for the Crimson Tide against the Auburn Tigers. And today's final score from Auburn Arena, Alabama 75, Auburn 68.
Tide TV This Week is presented by the University of Alabama, where legends are made. Ford, for great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
I love how they have no fear. Man, it's all of them. Everybody's chasing Alabama.
Come on now! Alabama raining down the threes.
The buzzer sounds, and Bama hangs on. Oh my goodness!
We don't have to be a football score or basketball score. We just win championship.
The job's not finished. We're not done yet.
They're headed to the Women's College World Series.
And the Alabama Crimson Tide are your SEC champions for the 6th time with a record-breaking run at the Rhodes House. And a perfect present for Montana Fouts and Alabama at the Women's College World Series.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. I'm Roger Hoover, joined by my co-host Kira Goldstein. After opening the season with back-to-back road meets, the 10th-ranked Alabama gymnastics team had their home opener this past Friday night as the Tide hosted number 9 Kentucky.
Before the meet, the Crimson Tide honored 2 of their 6 national championship teams. It was the 20th anniversary of the 2002 national championship team and the 10th anniversary of the 2012 national championship squad. Legendary Alabama gymnastics coaches Sarah and David Patterson were also honored, as well as members and staff from both national championship teams.
Once the competition began, Alabama took the lead in the opening rotation and never let up, posting 11 scores of 9-9 or better throughout the meet. Crimson Tide won all 4 apparatus, with Makari Doggett taking top honors on the vault and uneven bars, while Lilly Hudson and Luisa Blanco shared top honors on the balance beam. Hudson and Lexi Graber won the floor exercise, as the Tide posted their highest floor exercise total since 2017 with a 49.650. The 10th-ranked Tide defeated number 9 Kentucky 197.650 to 196.275.
This group of women, they're special. They have a bond and a chemistry that when someone makes a mistake, they absolutely pick their sister up. And you saw that tonight. So we did come out with some huge vaults, which was one of our goals. We got to find a few more landings. We went over to bars. I loved how they just, even after Shania made a mistake, the girls didn't miss a beat and kept pushing. Went over to beam. First athlete, makes a very uncharacteristic mistake. I honestly can say I think I've seen Ella fall on a switch side twice, probably all of her career. But at the same time, the ladies went 5 up, 5 count right after that. And floor was so awesome. Luisa Blanco had to step out. Cameron Machado stepped in. Sania Mitchell was ready. It was just a lot of fun. And really proud of our freshman, Lilly Hudson, going all around and just staying very calm, cool, and collective. And I'm really proud of Makari Doggett for having a great night. And yeah, so many positives.
And congratulations to Lilly Hudson. The freshman totaled a 39.525 in her all-around debut at Coleman Coliseum, winning both the balance beam and the floor exercise. Her all-around total is the best score by an SEC freshman this season and the third highest freshman tally in the nation this year. She is currently ranked 8th in the all-around nationally and 2nd in the SEC. For her performance in the Tide's win over number 9 Kentucky, Hudson was named the SEC Freshman of the Week.
That team total of 197,650 is the Tide's highest home opening score in program history. That's huge. A big night for gymnastics as they celebrated a great win and honored 2 national championship teams as well.
Stay with us. The Alabama women's tennis team opened the season with a pair of wins, and several records were broken by the Alabama track and field team this past weekend. We'll have that and more coming up right here on TideTV This Week.
And the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Alabama is really playing with max effort.
I can't shoot no brick. 9:30 in the morning. Hustle like I ain't getting no portion. While you was dormant, let you sleep since that's so important. Practice my form, I done broke out of the no.
Hannah Barber
to the bench.
Taylor shot no brick.
It's a done deal. 995. It's in. Alabama, the 2021 SEC champions.
I'm so proud of them. They have worked so hard. They have been fighters.
Welcome back. The Alabama women's tennis team opened the 2022 season with a home doubleheader.
Jenny Mine's squad hosted a couple of in-state teams this past Sunday at the Roberta Allison Bumgardner tennis facility.
Crimson Tide took the early lead, winning the doubles point against Samford, and then won 5 of the 6 singles matches to open the season with a very commanding 6-1 victory over the Bulldogs.
In match 2 of Sunday's doubleheader, the Tide once again captured the doubles point and then swept all 6 singles matches for the 7-0 victory over Troy. With the sweep of the doubleheader, the Crimson Tide begin the season 2-0. And they're not slowing down, Roger. Alabama will host another doubleheader on Saturday as the Tide takes on UAB at 10, followed by UT Chattanooga at 2.
Also, the Alabama men's tennis team was set to host Oklahoma State on Saturday, but due to COVID-19 protocols within the Cowboys program, that match was canceled. Coach Husak replaced the Cowboys matchup with a trip to Oxford to take on the 18th-ranked Ole Miss Rebels in a non-conference matchup.
The Tide captured the doubles point for the 3rd consecutive match, but the Rebels started singles play with 2 wins to take a 2-1 lead. Philip Planishek evened the score at 2, and Enzo Aguiar picked up the other singles win for the Crimson Tide, but back-to-back 3-set wins for the Rebels gave 18th-ranked Ole Miss the narrow 4-3 win over the Crimson Tide.
Alabama's Philip Planishek opened the spring season strong, going undefeated in doubles and singles action to earn this season's first Southeastern Conference Men's Tennis Freshman of the Week honor. Planishek holds a 3-0 record in both doubles and singles, including an upset win against Ole Miss's Finn Reynolds, who is the 44th-ranked singles player in the nation, according to the ITA.
The men will be back in the state of Mississippi this weekend as the Tide travels to Starkville to compete in the ITA kickoff. Alabama opens the tournament on Saturday against Kentucky at 10 a.m.
The Alabama track and field team made the short drive to Birmingham this past Friday to compete in the Samford Invitational.
Mercy Chalengat opened her indoor season by bettering her own school record in the 5,000 meters with a time of 15:34.82. That's more than 2 seconds off her previous mark set in 2020. Her time was also a Samford Invitational record. Chelsea Igbarase bettered the school record in the women's weight throw for the 2nd week in a row, picking up the win and setting a new meet record with a toss of 20.94 meters. Chalengat and Igbaras's efforts accounted for 2 of the Crimson Tide's 11 wins on the day.
After 3 meets in 8 days, the Tide get a few days off. Alabama will return to action February 4th and 5th at the Charlie Thomas Invitational in College Station, Texas.
Yeah, we'll have our Players of the Week and a special feature celebrating our female student athletes. That and so much more when we return in just 90 seconds.
They're headed to the Women's College World Series.
And the Alabama Crimson Tide are your SEC champions for the 6th time with a record-breaking run at the Rhodes House. And a
Welcome back to TideTV This Week as we take a look at our Players of the Week, brought to you by Legacy of Hope.
Brittany Davis had a monster game for the Crimson Tide in their win over Auburn down on the Plains. Davis scored 24 points, making 3 of 7 from beyond the arc. Davis added 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. This was the second consecutive game Davis has scored more than 20 points.
Lilly Hudson put on quite a show as she won the balance beam with a 9.925, the floor exercise with a score of 9.95, and finished with a 39.525 in the all-around. Hudson is currently ranked 8th in the all-around nationally and 2nd in the SEC. For her performance in the Tide's win over number 9 Kentucky, Hudson was also named the SEC Freshman of the Week. And those are our Legacy of Hope Players of the Week. You know, Roger, before we go, we have a few more players to recognize. This week, the NFL All-Rookie Team was announced by the Pro Football Writers of America. And as you could imagine, Alabama had several rookies on the team, 5 to be exact.
Well, the team includes 3 former Alabama players on offense and 2 on defense. On offense, quarterback Mac Jones of the New England Patriots, wide receiver Jalen Waddle of the Miami Dolphins, and Pittsburgh Steelers running back Najee Harris were selected.
And over on defense, the writers chose Denver Broncos cornerback Patrick Surtain and New England Patriots defensive tackle Christian Barmore.
Cornerback Trayvon Diggs of the Dallas Cowboys was also named to the Pro Football Writers of America All-NFL team. Diggs led the NFL with 11 interceptions, becoming the first player to reach that mark in the NFL since Everson Walls had 11 interceptions for the Cowboys back in 1981. Diggs was also named to the All-NFC team along with Washington's Jonathan Allen. Congratulations to those former Crimson Tide players. Kira, it's always fun to look back at the accomplishments here at the capstone, but now it's time to look forward into next week into a very important holiday.
Yes, Roger. National Girls and Women in Sports Day is Wednesday, February 2nd, and the Crimson Tide have won numerous national championships as well as SEC championships, individual awards, and have achieved an enormous amount of success in the classroom.
As we say goodbye for this week, let's take a look at some of those accomplishments from the Crimson Tide women, brought to you by ATI. We'll see you next week, everyone. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Repeat, they've never done it. They've won 5 NCAA titles. Called strike 3. Alabama wears a crown of crimson with their first national championship. And the Alabama Crimson Tide are your SEC champions for the 6th time. The Crimson Tide 2021 SEC champions.
Can you believe it? We got life, we got juice, we got swag. We're trying to make it to 40.
Scaturo still with the left foot. Right through and in. Alabama in front.
And a perfect present for Montana Fouts and Alabama at the Women's College World
Plays
Series.
it in. Bodies there. Finding the net is Alabama.
Because the Crimson Tide are dancing to the round of 32 here in San Antonio.
Jasmine Walker.
Oh my goodness. She is feeling it right now.
The senior is definitely feeling it.
What a performance. What a gutty job for that freshman. Challen Olsen from Canada. She's won a medal at the World Championships.
But how about this youngster? How about Ryan White?
Ryan White in lane 3.
I'm going to say it. Yeah. Roll Tide.
There you go.
This has been a presentation from Learfield,